friends, this is Brother Zygos here with another video, this time once again talking about Saturn. If you're not aware, Saturn's currently in the sign that it rules, Capricorn, as well as the Sun. Also in Capricorn, Venus is in Capricorn, and Pluto is in Capricorn. It's been there for a while, it's going to be there for quite a while longer. Just kind of wanted to talk about Saturn in general and the idea of it. And a lot of people aren't aware that Saturn is often associated with Satan. This idea of this evil tyrant that just tricks us into doing all kinds of stuff all the time. Oh, bad Satan. Stay behind me, Satan. You know, all that kind of stuff. Without really realizing what is behind that idea. And I mean, it's very simple in a lot of ways. When you really look at astrology, you can see that the goat of sign of Capricorn, the sea goat, currently is what it's the symbol of it. And the goat is obviously has a symbol also associated with Satanism, and the inverted pentagram with the goat head. You got 666, which is the number of the beast, and hell, where you'll be punished for all eternity for your sins and all that kind of stuff. And there are all these things that have just been programmed into Western thought through Christianity, more specifically the Roman Catholic Orthodox version of Christianity, from which all other religions pretty much have sprung forth from, Christian religions, that is. And there's like just a few things about these ideas that, if you just realize what hell is and the idea of what Satan is, and the number of beasts and all this stuff, there's some pretty interesting correlations that I'm going to go over really quick. Well, you think about being hell, whereas it's like a prison, right? You're imprisoned in hell. Well, what a word is associated with hell is held. And that is what we are upon this earth. We are held here. We are trapped within this body. The body is a prison of sorts. Is made up of cells, just as all things are upon this mortal plane, this physical realm. Everything is contained. It must be contained in order for the energy to be utilized and transferred and constructed into matter, if you will. And then there's and going on to the next thing that I wanted to speak of was the number of the beast, 666, which is, a lot of people may know this but haven't made the association. Carbon has 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons, and we are carbon-based life forms, and most things in our world are. So what does that mean? It means, who's the beast? You're looking at it. You're an animal, you know? As long as you're in a physical body, you're an animal. You are like animated, and you are restricted to the laws of nature as long as you are within that vessel, which means you can't just do whatever you want to do, because if you do, you're going to get hurt, you're going to possibly die, and you're going to, find repercussions for your actions. And that is Saturn teaching you, basically, through imprisoning you in the physical world. And then, I mean, obviously you have the hexagram, the hexagon. There's one on the North Pole of Saturn, hexagon. and the hexagram, as above, so below. Seen a lot of people, like Christians and stuff, like fundamentalist Christians, think it's like, oh, the as above, so below is evil, and the hexagram is an evil symbol of Judaism, and blah blah blah. No, it's been reappropriated by Judaism only recently, and by Zionist Rothschilds and whatnot. But it doesn't mean they own the symbol. They have no rights to the symbol. They're just using it to kind of seed their own intentions into this world, which, as above, so below. If your intentions are bad, then, as within, so without. We can see what they're doing. They create chaos within, and they create chaos without, because they're obviously sick individuals. A lot of these people that propagate war and destruction, greed, all kinds of vices. And they are, they are, I guess you could say they are Satanists. But and then another thing is, we have the pentagram, not an evil symbol. It's it's a 5-pointed star. You actually can find it inside, just as the hexagram. You can find it in nature all the time. The hexagram, the pentagram is found within a core of an apple. Earth and Venus make a pentagram pattern over their orbital cycles. And you make a pentagram when you have your legs and your arms out. It's a head, 2 arms, leg. This is a symbol of man, really. The Vitruvius Man by Leonardo da Vinci resembles that, and that's kind of, I think, what he's trying to say. But what happens when you turn that upside down? Well, you have the upside down man. You're going backwards. You're going down into the earth. You're going back into the bestial, more primal realms, and basically unlearning things. And that's why that symbol is used so much by Satanists, is because it's basically they don't want to learn. They just want to do whatever they want. They want to basically take and not have and break the restrictions of Saturn, which is impossible. But no matter what, you're just gonna have to, basically and I think a lot of people, they are on a downward cycle, and they're going down to the bottom, and a lot of the people are just stuck. They're going up wherever, back and forth. I don't know. Evolution, de-evolution, it happens in many ways, but that's the whole thing with Saturn in general, is to evolve. You must learn from your mistakes, and you must experience pain and suffering and hardship in order to learn from that, and that's what is going on in our reality. And that's why, because we're not learning, we're allowing the Satanists, the Zionists, the eugenicists, for lack of a better, let's call the ethnic cleanses, because eugenics just means to better your genes, so it's kind of not a really good term for them. But the ethnic cleansers, the racist agenda propagators, I don't know what you'd call them other than that, but these are people that use this idea of Saturn. They do use it because we're not learning the lesson, because we follow them. We keep following them because we are weak little children, and we allow ourselves to be manipulated because we want something from them, from those who are selling us these wars, these toxic products, what have you, these things, and it's used to manipulate and steer the energy where they want it to go, and generally that's towards ends that fulfill their own empires, agendas, and propagation of ideologies and whatnot. But and there is a use to see. We're learning. They are fulfilling something that is actually, there's good that's coming out of these things, even though they're horrors and and you know, things that come out of them, like, you know, obviously, for one thing, like colonization, you know, so the horrors of genocide, colonization, everything, things that happen, but yet kind of over time have brought the world together and connected different people throughout the world, connected genetics, you know, connected, you know, people of different races with each other who, you know, and that's sort of like bringing things together and connecting the world through a negative force. And it, on that idea, similarly, so basically a new things are born out of the negative energy of like colonization, of wars, of all kinds of things that happened in our past, which have brought us to this point. But and we are learning, but we're not. I honestly, I don't think we're learning fast enough, because a lot of people are still all right with the system as it is, and they're not pushing for enough change because they're basically want to just have a safe little life and have their toys and their comforts and eat their meats and their cheeses and have their like nice car and their multi-million-dollar house, and maybe some people just want their porn and their Arby's. I don't know, you know, it's just like there's a lot of different levels of what people want and are willing to allow the corruption to seep into their bodies by not following their higher moral compass and rejecting things of a lower vibration that really like trap us and keep us back. So on that note, I wanted to kind of tie that into the longer cycle, evolutionary cycle, Age of Aquarius, binary star system, the long year, the yugas, all this. Like the Kali Yuga is it is thought that's the yuga we are coming out of. It's a Vedic astrology, or a Vedic idea of a long, you know, evolution, and like basically a summer and a winter on a very massive scale, the 26,000 or so year cycle of sun around the central sun of the Milky Way galaxy. There's other ideas. It's the cycle of the binary star system of Sirius with the sun. And let's elaborate on that. Okay, so I was talking about the binary star system. Look at these clouds. It's great. Anyways, binary star system with Sirius. And when we're close to Sirius, there's a basically at its summertime, and the energy of this binary, we're basically feeding off this proximity, and we're basically, it's like that's summertime, that's this, who even knows what, you know, from this perspective of where we are, what kind of reality that is. So when we're on the edges of our reality and we're out at the like far reaches of that orbit, it's winter time, and we've just rounded that loop. But when we're clear out farther away from the central sun, our binary star, then we're basically out into the dark reaches of space, and we're basically picking up all kinds of, let's say, microbes out there, stuff that is coming out of the darkness, you know, stuff that is its own kind of maybe culture, bacteria, if you will, that lives within these outer reaches, and basically grows and festers maybe, but then when we're out there, we're just like, we pick it up, you know. It's like when you think about the universe as like pond water or some kind of system of nature, that, you know, it's like, yeah, stuff grows out in the recesses, you know, like cultures, we're bacteria, we are bacteria, you know. We're made out of all kinds of little bacteria, like even like worms and stuff that we've evolved with. So when we are clear out in those reaches, we pick up all this stuff and we have to like assimilate it in some way. We have no choice. But when you think about it, that is birth, it's just this idea of the masculine being the one and the feminine being the zero, but really those are just symbols for the opening, the void from which the light springs, and then the phallus which enters the void. And so basically when we're going out into the void, for lack of a better idea, it's like that's the darkness, that is from which life springs, even if it's violent and terrible in so many ways, but we're creating new life basically by picking up this energy that sits out in these reaches and just waits basically for something to interact with, just like any bacteria, virus, microbe will. It's wanting to cross-pollinate, to feed, to do whatever, but that's just the nature of life. It's like it's the positive and the negative. And so out of this really feminine energy of the void, of the darkness, comes new life. So in that long cycle away, we get out to the reaches and then basically pick up all those spores and then evolve through that, and then we come back and it helps us. And so each time it goes around, there's another life changes, and it evolves, and it it's just a constant cycle of growth and learning. And that's the funny thing about Saturn, is people just think, oh, Saturn's evil or Satan's evil and all this stuff. But when we're out here, we need a filtration device of some kind to be able to allow us to take on this energy, and that's Saturn. Because Saturn basically, it's doing many purposes, but I think of one thing, it's like, okay, there's all this shit out here and it's got to come in, but I got to decide what is going to make it in and what's not, and if it gets in, where does it go, where do you put it? And so that's sort of the job of Saturn. It's like a dirty job, but someone's got to do it, right? And so that some of that stuff, it'll come in from that from those outer reaches, and we have no choice but to take it on, because that's Mother Earth. This is a fruiting chamber, this is a petri dish, if you will, and this is where the bacteria that creates culture cross-pollinates with us, and we cross-pollinate with each other, and we spread the bacteria and spread the genes. And but Saturn is basically deciding, what goes where and what stays in and what can leave, and there's many reasons for this. I think it's like it can't allow for unlearned consciousness to escape this realm, because if it is not logical, just, and reasonable, it will just destroy its way on up to upper realms of reality. And that's what Saturn's job is, to keep that from happening. And then we get put through the ringer, because it's like a test. It's like, oh, well, it's a test, but it's also like the nature of reality is to take on this energy and transmute it. So we're basically transmuting all of this new life. We're giving birth to new life, new reality. But coming back and grounding down to our own reality, like what happens when we don't take on that Saturnian concept in our own life? We don't filter all this debris that's coming in, and just eating the blood of animals, the meat, the cheese, the pain of animals, and not really doing that without being conscious of what we're taking in, and just, oh, whatever, it just tastes good and it's convenient, so I'm just going to eat it. And that's not taking care of. That's not you're not doing the filtration, Yeah, and then, you know, it's like, oh, like, I just want to have sex, so I'm just going to go and have sex and everything. And what are you going to do? You're going to take on all this energy that you might not be able to handle, diseases, you know, negative thought forms from different people that who even knows where they've been or what they do and what kind of consciousness they have, immorality in their mind and in their soul, you know, that they've picked up from other places because they didn't learn how to contain it and transmute it. And so it just basically, that energy is able to spread through, you know, viral viruses and pathogens. And you can even think about it within your own house. You know, what happens in the dark crevices when you're not cleaning house and taking care of an environment. You know, it's like you get cobwebs, you get little critters like living in the crevices and the corners, and sooner or later they're going to be creeping their way into your own body, you know. That's a lack of Saturnian control and knowledge and filtration. And similarly in this binary star system, you know, those little cobwebs out there in the darkness, they're coming in and they're creeping in, and there's no way around it as they're going to get in, right? And we just have to, our job is to filter them and learn from them and allow ourselves to evolve from them and give new life and bring out new life and evolution through that, and that is better. Because I think a lot of this de-evolution people, they're not going back to the central sun. They're not going back to the binary. They're gonna stay out here for a while until the next time around. That's the thing, is these energies that are doing all this stuff, they're I mean, that's about the Satanists are doing. They're like, I'm just staying out here and I'm fine with it, you know. You know, these representations, and Saturn's like, fine, I'll use that energy. I will use it. Because that's what Saturn does. He uses that negative energy and tries to make something constructive out of it. But it's only because people are not moral and strong enough to let it to learn from it better. Instead, they just delve into the abyss of moral depravity, and that's why we see all these pedophiles and rapists and stuff in Hollywood and politics and everything. I mean, that's unfortunately the only reason why that's able to work is because people are immoral, you know. That's the only reason why this meat industry and this Monsanto and the people will go to war for money and kill people for money. The only reason that people will you know, they'll pay money for prostitutes and all this stuff is because they're immoral. You're like, oh, I need this physical needs met. I can't control myself. So, and I want this and that and this. And you just end up downward spiraling through this immorality. And then you pay the consequences, you know. Saturn takes it's like, well, you got to pay the karmic debt. You weren't strong enough, you know. It's like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm getting off base, but generally I'm just trying to talk about this idea of Saturn and not to be afraid of it, and not even be afraid of like this idea of Satan. Yeah, get behind me, Satan. That's a perfectly good term. Get behind me, by like not falling for all these little like vices, these vice traps. Basically, we experience them, we learn from them, and we move forward and move on, and we don't let these little triggers dictate us anymore. Because the more that the triggers and the viruses and the pathogens, the more if we're not learning from them, just like your body, your immune system learns from a virus or something and is able to either assimilate it or expunge it or excrete it, cast it out so that it may never return, then you basically are becoming less you and more something else, less in control of your own universe, your own realm, and more at the whims of the darkness and this dark energy that just wants to take over. And it will take over, and it will create its own life out of that. But as human beings, obviously most of us don't, we want to be in control of our own life and our body. We want to have freedom, but we can't have it if we're not learning. Obviously we can't have it because karma, right? You go out and you drive drunk on the freeway and you get in a car accident. You're either going to kill yourself or you're going to kill other people, and you're going to end up in prison, for the rest of your life. You're going to end up in all this debt and this weight of the guilt of what you've created on this earth. And that's the karmic debt. So my whole to just sum this up, my whole point is that this is a dark time, and we have all this shit. Our government is corrupt, these corporations are corrupt, but we keep buying what they're selling us. We are weak, and if we're not able to control our own vices and our own urges and be in control of our own universe, then we're just going to continue to be assimilated by this dark energy because we're not learning. It's like, guess we don't deserve it. We don't deserve the light if we can't control this. How can we be, trusted to go up and like in this like higher realm of vibration? It's like no, you're gonna corrupt it. People, it's like energy. Here's what I do believe is that all humanity, a piece of us, will get to that energy, but the negative stuff will be cast out to the darkness, the lower vibrational energy, as we get closer to the central sun, as we get closer to the binary star system. Then we will, this vessel is going to die. Every person on this earth is going to die. But what lives on is our progeny, and whether that's children or your acts that you do within this world, the positive actions you do that affect other people in a positive way, that affect nature in a positive way, and help a forward motion of positive and love energy. That's the progeny, right? It's genetic progeny, and it's moral progeny. It's like, let's carry on in the future in a way that the future we want. All right, my final point, I just wanted to say that we don't need to be nihilistic, self-loathing. We need to learn, I feel like, and learn from this reality. Stop projecting all of our fears on other people, and our hopes on other people, and be what we know to be right. We need to stop externalizing our power to politicians, corporations, to whatever, Satan, to even Jesus, whatever. Yeah, we can look to the light. Jesus symbolizes the sun, and we have and Zeus too, but Jupiter. But we need to look to the higher energy that is within ourselves, our own Christ, be our own Christ, save ourselves. And we do that by, we need to look to the negative, look to the darkness, and learn from it, and communicate what we've learned to others and help others to learn. Saturn doesn't have to be a malefic. It can also be a positive influence. It can also be helpful if we will learn the lesson. So let's learn the lesson. Let's move forward with love from the heart and from the head too, as above, so below. Peace.